set the precedent for a president to say to a board member, or have a board member say to the president, hey, so-and-so is there, but I want to be there. Because I don't think anybody wants to have that sort of movement over the course of a year for committees. They're set up as they were, and there wasn't disagreement at that point.
I just want to, first of all, state that my request was extremely polite, in your own words, not without merit, and it was prior to the committees even starting to meet. So if you're putting it on me that I asked, with a specific person, because that was the most likely person to switch with, given her involvement in so many other committees, that's fine, Eric. But, and I didn't know Peggy was gonna bring this up tonight. You never closed the loop and had the courtesy to at least respond. And I'm not gonna let you gaslight me that all of a sudden now my request was without merit when you stated it was with merit.
I'm not saying it's not. I don't believe it's without merit for you to be on PTAC. And I'll continue to state that. You made a positive, there's been, as Member James said, there were some changes that were made. And that part of the changes, were precipitated by comments that you made. But the committee assignments have been made at that point in time. I had conversations with Member Hirsman on whether or not to, if she wanted to step down on several occasions. I had conversations with the chair on whether or not there was a need to make a change or if there should be a change. I didn't just make the decision in isolation. I sought feedback from the committee members. There was an email received here a short time ago from Member James, and I did not believe, based on her comments, that she wished to step down. I did ask the question, she did not wish to step down in place. And so at this point in time, there's no movement that's gonna happen, because I again, do not want to go in there and just remove somebody because someone else says, I wanna be on it. I don't, again, think that the request was in poor taste or that anything along those lines. I'm just simply saying, I'm not gonna go in and do that here in the middle of it. So I think if there was a request to be on the committee, if the assignments themselves didn't sit well, when I made them would have been the time initially to come to me or to come to somebody else.
And those changes to the committee structure happened after those requests were made. So, but that's fine.
All right, I need to set the record straight here. I have served on this board for 7 years. And the process is, when we have our reorganization meeting, board members indicate an interest in committees they'd like to serve on. I have time. I indicated right from the get-go, 7 years ago, committees that I wanted to serve on. And as a matter of fact, in my first year on the board, I went to committee meetings that I wasn't even a member of because that was my way of learning. I did not bump anybody else from a committee position in order to continue serving on the committees that I volunteered to serve on. And the notion that somehow I'm bumping other board members from an opportunity to serve on a committee, that needs to be dispelled because that is not true. That is not true. I had served on the PTAC committee since inception. And I volunteered for it, as with the other committees that I have served on over the 7 years I've served on this board. And it has never been a competition, and I've never bumped somebody else off of an opportunity to serve on a committee. So I would like to dispel that notion right away. What we have is tantamount to an open enrollment period where you express your interest in a committee, and then the board president looks at that interest and determines how the board president can best give effect to everyone's interest. And to my understanding, you did not put in a request to be on PTAC at that time.
I did actually.
Well,
I did request to expand, and
I'm
that
not
was
the
one
one
of the
who
ones I was
made the
interested in.
decision.
It's fine, let's move
I'm
on
not
to the
the-
finance.
Well, I think it's important, just again, to set the record straight, I can't speak for Peggy or Debbie in this situation. I don't think anyone is maintaining that you bumped Debbie off of the committee. I think the maintenance here, as it relates to the data point that Debbie has maintained several times, she applied or indicated interest to be in a committee. You maintained, Eric, that her request was not without merit. And relative to an equity scorecard, 6-2, committees Debbie serves on to 6 for Kathleen. I think that's the main consternation or frustration from Board Member Levinthal.
Okay.
Let's move on to
Understood. No additional comments for Chair Hansen. We'll move on to Chair Levinthal of the Finance Committee report.